Go. Okay, good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone to National Cement Company. I am Eric Hollard, the CEO of National Cement Company. I'm very pleased to welcome Governor Gavin Newsom, California Labor Secretary Stewart Knox, and Senior Advisor to the Governor, Didi Myers, and members of the Kern Coalition to our cement plant here in Lebec, Kern County. The Lebec plant started in 1967 and has been part of the Vicar Group since 1987. We employ over 150 people in Kern County and 700 around the state. The cement produced in Lebec is shipped to our concrete customer across the Central Valley and south into the LA Metro and Orange County. Cement and concrete, as you know, are essential material for the environment and the economic activities of all kinds, used to build bridges, highways, schools, water pipe, and so on. Today, our industry, the cement and concrete industry, have entered into an exciting period of change driven by decarbonization. At National Cement, we are embracing this opportunity to innovate. You may know, but our cement plant has the lowest carbon footprint of any cement plant in California. Our effort to be a leader has been recognized further by the federal government. Earlier this year, we were selected to receive a grant from the Department of Energy for our project called Lebec Net Zero. We are currently still under negotiation with the DOE to be fully granted. Once completed, this plant will be one of the first cement plants to produce a net zero cement at scale with a target of 2031, 14 years before your objective, Governor Newsom. The project will be a public-private partnership with our ownership and the DOE sharing in the investment, which will total over $1 billion. This project will accelerate the future of cement and bringing major new innovation and workforce development opportunities right here in Kern County. We believe that Kern County is the proper ecosystem for carbon management. We expect hundreds of jobs to be created during construction, with over 20 permanent high-qualified jobs once completed for our operation. Our workers are part of the United Steelworkers, and our concrete division is part of the Teamsters. We are also engaged with the building trades, as we start planning ahead for construction in a few years. Importantly, our initial project will include a focus on community benefits planning and investing in workforce development initiative to benefit the region. This community benefit plan has been developed with the help of the Kern Community College District. We are finalizing the project scope with the DOE, and we look forward for the project to begin very soon. Governor Newsom, we are hoping that you had a very good visit, and also that you understand that we are aligned with your vision of decarbonization for our beautiful state of California. And I will now pass the stand to our president of the local union, Jose.
Hi. My My name is Jose Bucio, and I'm the 471 union president. And I'm an employee here for 13 years. At National Cement, I have worked in the industry for over 20 years. And I understand the importance of industry, success on a large scale and small scale. I'm glad that you are all here to see the hard work that goes on into the everyday operations to keep our economy, environment, and its infrastructure moving in a positive direction. I'm excited for the new project and opportunity it's given to our union workers and their families. Thank you. The next speaker is Norma Rojas.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right. My name is Norma Rojas Mora, and I am the proud daughter of farm workers who grew up about 30 miles north of here in a small community named Mettler. Today, I stand before you as the Associate Vice Chancellor of Public Affairs and Development at the Kern Community College District. Kern CCD serves as the fiscal agent and one of 5 conveners for the Kern Coalition, the region's California Jobs First initiative. Fellow conveners include B3K, Building Healthy Communities, the Kern and Yomano Central Labor Council, and Community Action Partnership of Kern. Over the last 2 years, the Kern Coalition has been committed to ensuring all areas of Kern have a voice in developing the regional economic plan for Kern County. We held over 52 community meetings in all 5 subregions of Kern. These meetings were well attended thanks to the partnerships we had with community-based organizations that did extensive outreach in the subregions to ensure the community's voice was included in the plan. We continue to work with government and industry partners to access funding for the region, and we see those investments coming through funding from Transforming Climate Communities, the High Roads Training Partnerships, and from the Department of Energy, helping our region make strides in reducing our carbon footprint and growing our renewable sector. Within the Kern County region, we have sub-regional economies that each play a vital role in our economic outlook. In Kern, we feed, we energize, and we defend the nation. And Kern County is well positioned to continue to advance our role, leading in the new economy of California as we begin to identify and grow our renewable energy footprint, developing our manufacturing sector, entrepreneurship, and advancing aerospace in the region. The National Cement Project is a good example of the industry working with labor and community to meet the target goals of reducing carbon emissions of the cement industry well ahead of the 2035 target. Industry partners who are committed to working with our labor unions and our community to invest in the well-being of local communities. The Kern Coalition is positioned and ready to work in partnership with the state to continue to identify and leverage resources for this region to ensure that good quality jobs are available to all residents of Kern. Governor Newsom, thank you for your commitment to California. Thank you for your commitment to this region. Gobernador, el Condado de Kern le da la bienvenida. Gracias por sus inversiones en esta región. Tenemos confianza que juntos podremos seguir alimentando nuestra economía para bien de todos nuestros residentes, incluyendo los más vulnerables que buscan acceso a buenos trabajos y manera de seguir apoyando a sus familias. Juntos lograremos una California inclusiva de todos. I was asked to make my remarks in Spanish. So, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Norma Rojas Mora. Soy hija de trabajadores de campo con mucho orgullo. Hoy estoy aquí como la vicerrectora asociada de Asuntos Públicos y Desarrollo en el Distrito de Colegios Comunitarios de Kern. Kern CCD es el agente fiscal y uno de los 5 convocantes de la coalición Kern. la iniciativa de California Jobs First de la región. Los otros convocantes son B3K, Building Healthy Communities, the Central Labor Council y Community Action Partnership of Kern. Durante los últimos 2 años, la coalición de Kern se ha comprometido a garantizar que todas las áreas de Kern tengan voz en el desarrollo del Plan Económico Regional para el Condado de Kern. Llevamos a cabo más de 52 reuniones comunitarias a las 5 subregiones de Kern. Estas reuniones contaron con gran asistencia gracias a las alianzas que tuvimos con organizaciones comunitarias que realizaron una amplia labor invitando a nuestra gente en cada subregión a las reuniones para garantizar que la voz de las comunidades se incluyeran en nuestro plan. Continuamos trabajando con agencias locales del gobierno y de la industria para acceder fondos para la región y vemos que esas inversiones se acercan a través de fondos que se han recibido de Transforming Climate Communities, the High Roads Training Partnership y del Departamento de Energía. Vemos que se viene ayuda para nuestra región para avanzar la reducción de nuestra huella de carbono y el crecimiento de nuestro sector de energía renovable. Dentro de la región del condado de Kern tenemos subregiones que desempeñan un papel vital en nuestra economía. Aquí alimentamos, proveemos energía y defendemos a la nación. Y el condado de Kern está bien posicionado para continuar avanzando nuestro papel, liderando la nueva economía de California. La coalición de Kern está posicionada y lista para trabajar con el Estado para continuar identificando y aprovechando los recursos para esta región, para garantizar que los empleos de buena calidad estén disponibles para todos los residentes de Kern. Gobernador Newsom, gracias por su compromiso con California. Gracias por su compromiso con esta región. Governor, Kern County welcomes you. Thank you for your investments in this region. We are confident that together we can continue to fuel our economy for the good of all of our residents, including the most vulnerable who are looking for access to good jobs and ways to continue supporting their families. Together, we will achieve a California that is inclusive of all. With that, I'd like to introduce former Assemblyman Rudy Salas to introduce our governor and someone who was so instrumental in making the California Jobs First process, bringing it to fruition.
Thank you. So thank you, Norma. I appreciate that. And, thank you guys all for being here. This is a momentous occasion. I got to be here during the inception when we started talking about what this program would mean to people. I was the original author of Assembly Bill 106 that actually kicked off the California jobs program here that the governor is now touting. I can tell you that the governor, when we were talking back then, it was about making an impact for communities like Kern County, like the Central Valley, for Californians, where you can have an impact that's going to not only transform our climate and transform regions, but transform lives. So like what Jose was talking about, being in this industry for over 20 years, our United Steelworkers, our labor organizations, it's about making a difference in regions that have problems with, for instance, double-digit unemployment, regions that are looking for jobs that are going to make a huge difference in people's lives. And I can tell you that this program and what the governor has done and with all of our community partners, it's about making a true difference for people. And that's what this money is for. This is what these resources are for. This is what these partnerships are for. These partnerships are to make a difference for not only these families and individuals, but to spur the local economy. We know that we have to do everything that we can to turn $1 into $3, $1 into $5, to make sure that we're having not only creating one job, but a job that's creating multiple jobs. And that's what this program's about. And this is what the governor is not only promised, but is actually seeing it all the way through. These programs, Governor, thank you for being back here in the Central Valley, a true champion for our area, someone that believes in our workers, someone that believes in our region, and somebody that's going to continue to not only talk about jobs that we need, either it's on the west side, the east side, in manufacturing, at our cement plants, in biotech, in agriculture, in high tech, in manufacturing. These are jobs that are for the next century. These are jobs for our next workers coming in, and the governor's been a true champion for that. And I would love to welcome my friend and the governor, who's a champion for our entire region, Governor Newsom. Thank you.
Thanks, Rudy. Thank you, Rudy. Oh, wait.
Governor,
You forgot to give me the plan.
we've got to make it official. Governor Newsom, it gives me great pleasure to present to you the Kern County Regional Plan for California Jobs First.
Photo. Smile. Smile, man. Thank you, Norma. Thank you. By the way, this is a little more modest than I was joking with than that Fresno plan, which was 502 pages, but no less impactful and important. I'm very grateful to you, Norma, and all of you that helped organize this effort over the course of the last few years. All of those community meetings, as Norma said, 52 community meetings went into this plan. 840 people participated in this planning process, the most comprehensive economic and workforce development planning process in our state's history. It's occurring now in 13 regions throughout California. Just a few days ago, I was privileged to accept that 502-page plan from the Sierra San Joaquin regions, representing 4 counties. That was one, again, of 13 plans. This, the second of those 13 plans. We'll be receiving the other plans, and we will be braiding them all together in January and putting out the most comprehensive, place-based, focused community development, bottom-up economic process the state has ever advanced. So it's a point of pride and a point of consideration that we're here. I'm grateful to Eric and your team and to the extraordinary work that you're doing at this site. This site dates back to my birth, 1967, and it's remarkable over the course of the last half century how this particular cement manufacturing facility has evolved and continues to be on the leading and cutting edge. $1 billion that'll be invested in this community at this plant. $1 billion creating family supporting jobs, union jobs. Proud of the work you and Jose and the team have done to continue to operate this plant 24/7 to support not only yourselves and your family, but to support the broader community and to support the broader vision that was set forth in this plan. I had the privilege of meeting with a dozen or so folks, Dolores Huerta included, that were participatory in this plan. We had a chance to dialogue about what specific strategies it includes, opportunities that present themselves anew. And we created a framework of understanding that it's not just about the future. It's also about respecting our proud past. It's about respecting the people that helped build this region, build this economy, and the industries that help build this region and build this economy. And the importance to make sure that we don't leave anybody else behind, that we're not just in the future tense as it relates to economic development. We're in the present tense. We're meeting people where they are. And again, that's why I'm happy and honored to be back here in Kern County. Happy and honored to be here with Rudy Salas that helped advance this effort. It was his bill after all, and your funding that organized this effort a few years back. Let me be specific and brief on that effort. I'm mindful that Mayor Go is here, and I'm grateful that she's here. It wasn't just her presence in Bakersfield that was catalytic to this. It was her presence in Sacramento back in 2020 when she met with me expecting and demanding more, not in an argumentative way, but saying that you need to step up your game. The state of California needs to step up its game as it relates to economic development, particularly down here in Kern, particularly in the broader region around Bakersfield. Don't forget about us, was her point. It's not just a coastal economy. I think she even referenced, I appreciate everybody up in Sacramento talking about this being the 5th largest economy in the world. You talk about everybody living in the aggregate, but none of us do live in the aggregate. We live somewhere in California. Not every part of this state is thriving like the entire state of California. And it was that consciousness and the commitment that came from that meeting and the work that she was doing as well as the mayor of Fresno, Ashley Swearington, was doing, that ultimately inspired this process. We created a framework that built on the work that was already being done, the Fresno Drive initiative up in the Fresno region, the B3K initiative that came out of that example. And we said we want to bring it to a whole nother scale. But it wasn't until Rudy came along and we were able to finance that effort with hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's what makes this different. That's what makes this unlike anything else. This is backed up, yes, with the resources that went in, $5 million of planning grants that went to each region. 13 checks were written for $5 million each that informed this process. But in the process of developing these plans, we put out $30 million in early grants to 8 specific projects. And we said that at the back end of this process, you'll also be receiving, as Kern already has, $14 million for ready-to-go projects. That could be business planning projects, that could be land use strategies, that could be CEQA projects, that could just be moving to accelerate progress that's already being advanced. But because of Rudy's support and the legislature's support, we're also backing that up in January with $120 million of competitive grants that will help foster this promise and this promotion. So that's what makes this different. I mean, in the past, I'm with you. If I see another damn plan, that never gets any attention, just collects a lot of dust, we don't need to absorb any more plans. That said, this is an organic, bottom-up process that I think promotes a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity. Again, worker-centered, people-centered, no one left behind, family-supporting jobs, and a focus, yes, on the present, but yes, back, and I'll close, on the future, picking up a little bit on what Rudy was just saying. Looking at the attributes, the strengths of this region, opportunities that present themselves new in this region on advanced manufacturing, opportunities that present themselves as it relates to carbon management, opportunities as it relates to building on the successful transition that's already taking place in wind and solar in this area, looking at infrastructure, human capital, not just physical capital, as it relates to how we get the utilities to match our ambition in this region, how we make sure we connect everybody. Dolores was reminding us of where broadband is and where it needs to be in this region, and making sure we finish that job on the last mile. Unprecedented investments in that space. We're going to get that job done. It's also about reimagining the future that also is focused on materials. It's focusing on minerals, focusing on the things that are coming together here in this transformation that's taking place at this plant, a circular economy that invests back into the community, not an extractive economy that sends those resources and the byproducts of that success and investment someplace else. So I'm just very grateful to everybody that works so hard. I'm grateful to my team, the co-chairs of the Jobs First Council, Aditi Myers and Stuart Knox, who are here from our respective agencies that have worked so hard on this. Again, to all of the community leaders, we're thankful to you. And final words, I say this often because it bears repeating. A state's commitment is only realized at the local level. It is about bottom up, not top down. You can't sell down a vision. That vision is realized region by region, community by community. And so the spirit, the overriding spirit that defines this process is the spirit that will define its success into the future. And so that resides within you, not just the opportunities in front of you. So I look forward to partnering with all of you over the course of the next few years. Look forward to working with the legislature. You did the hard work. You have the prioritization. You have the strategies. You've built those partnerships, public-private, public-public, and now it's our job to help support you as well as the federal government in stewarding this new vision for the future forward. Thank you all very, very much for being out here. Thank you, guys. agencies that have been deeply engaged in this process, and 10 key industry sectors that are a big part of this effort as well. And so I cannot impress upon you more. There's simply never been a process like this in the state's history that is more granular, more comprehensive, that builds more bridges and more partnerships, that doesn't play at all into any of the prevailing winds of politics and finger pointing and the usual rancor that is politics. So this is an energetic process, and I'm really looking forward as we unveil the 13 plans and how they intersect in January. And then we'll be, previewed it last week, we'll be coming out with our career master plan, which we've been working on for about 3 years, which is also the most comprehensive strategy to look at the issues of lifelong learning, to look at the issues beyond just getting a 4-year degree or even a 2-year degree for that matter. Again, focusing on careers, focusing on apprenticeships, all of these things coming together in a way that this state has not advanced in the past. With that, happy to answer any questions. Yeah. Well, I thought one of the most informative parts of our roundtable when we were discussing the plan and receiving the plan, it was highlighted by Norma. Look around the table. It's almost all women. So women really led this initiative. It's just not only about hard hats, so you see plenty of women out here with hard hats. It's not just about heavy construction jobs. This is across the spectrum around the future, and that is, as you heard from Rudy a moment ago, that's in issues around biotech, biotherapeutics, and cybersecurity, which is a big component part of this plan. Advanced manufacturing, there's a huge computational quality in advanced manufacturing. It's about ag in the traditional sense, but also ag tech. The focus on wind and solar is a big part. Logistics, transportation sector, all of that becoming more and more computational. And then it's also about partnership with our UCs, CSUs, and community colleges. It's all about alignment between what we're teaching and what are the needs regionally within the community. And that's been a gap in the past, that we tend to teach past people without any consideration of what the actual economic needs are in a region. So we've worked with the systems of higher learning, and we're looking to partner with them as part of this strategy and plan to make sure we're matching the educational opportunities to where the jobs are going, so that we're actually educating a workforce as opposed to, again, dictating terms in a totally disconnected way. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think, well, I drove by some of the largest solar programs in the United States of America that are creating jobs. You've got hundreds of jobs here that are at next level jobs. Average is over $100,000. And this is going to be the most renewable, the greenest, cleanest plant of its type anywhere in the United States of America. So quite the contrary. And let me give you a proof point. Currently in California, there's 7 times more clean energy jobs than in those traditional fields. 7x, not 2 times, 7 times. Over 540,000 plus jobs in green energy. And Kern County is poised to get the lion's share benefit of those jobs. But what is incredibly important, and it's essential, and it's part of the baseline of this report and what I was saying inside, is that we're not looking to leave people behind in that respect. It's not just about jumping over something and getting to the next thing. It's about making sure as we move in that direction, as industries like this, carbon-intensive industries like concrete, move in a decarbonized direction, that we're bringing workers along. And that's foundational in this Kern plan. And the answer to your question lies quite literally right here. Well, I think this is an exhibit A of that process. It's a process that unfolds over the course of many, many years. And these jobs are constantly iterating. These jobs, these steelworker jobs, these jobs that are union jobs, are getting the skills and the support as this transition begins to unfold over the course of the next many, many years. So these workers are not only part of that transition, they're leading that transition. And I say that, I think there's a lot of conversation just around well capping. It's the exact same skill set on well capping. We're going to be doing that for decades and decades and decades. So the folks that actually built those things are going to be the folks that will be part of this transition. So I see it as much more inclusive, though I deeply appreciate it. I think a big part of the spirit of these planning process is to recognize that anxiety. One has to acknowledge that anxiety, and it's real. And that's why I'm back down here. I say back down here to make the case anew that we're not just putting a planning document out, we're funding it. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that we're investing just in that transition for workers to make sure they're part of it and that they're helping drive it. And again, this is a plan that didn't come from Sacramento, nor did it come from industry. This is a worker-centered plan where workers were at the table helping design it. Well, there's 6 or 7 component parts, which I appreciate. No, and I appreciate the spirit of your question. It's interesting. Something that I didn't highlight, and I don't see the mayor now. As you've seen over the course of the last couple of years, we've been investing heavily in addressing the issue of crime, quality of life, particularly down here. We have an operation here in Bakersfield, as an example, which I launched with the mayor and the California Highway Patrol. 1,928 arrests, 781 stolen vehicles returned, dozens and dozens of crime-related guns that have been taken off the streets. It's just a proof point of the kind of investments we're making and things that I think people care about, particularly as it relates to Kern and the disproportionately higher crime rates here in this county and in cities like Bakersfield. It's also important to highlight, we were with General Beavers just a couple days ago on Friday. We have 392 men and women in uniform, National Guard, that I put down at the border. I didn't wake up to that after this election. We've been active down at the border for years and years and years. I'm not an ideologue as it relates to border security, never have been. So I want to just make that point to level set as well. We have more forestry jobs, more hunting jobs, more manufacturing jobs in California than any state in America. That's a fact, and it's a point of deep pride. What's also a point of pride are the unprecedented partnerships that we've invested in forest management, in vegetation management, a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Forest Service to help support those efforts to address the mismanagement of our forests over the course of the last half century. In fact, you may go back, take a look. What was my first press conference and first action as governor of California? It was up in Placer County. It was an executive order to fast track the permitting as it relates to more active forest management, something I deeply care about. I know this community cares about deeply as well. Again, this is not a traditional economic development plan that the state has sold down. In fact, we haven't been doing that for decades. The state's frankly rested on its laurels as it relates to economic development. We're the first administration to actually do it with vigor and to fund it and finance it. I'll give you another proof point. I was very proud to do this. It was in my budget. I didn't get forced to do this. I put an $83 million grant to Bakersfield, UC Bakersfield, to talk about, CSU Bakersfield, to talk about innovation, to talk about entrepreneurialism. This is one of the most vibrant entrepreneurial regions in America. Bakersfield's the 47th largest city, We don't talk about the entrepreneurial spirit, the innovative spirit of people down here. So we're focusing across the spectrum. I'm not focusing on the politics, but I'm deeply mindful of the politics, and you're absolutely right. And in your spirit, and I appreciate the spirit of generosity, you're 100% right. I don't like when people talk down to people, talk past people. And I'll say it, I've said it for years and years. You can't find an instance where I haven't said it. I don't care if you voted for me. I don't care if you can't stand me. I have an obligation as your governor to work for you and do better, to be better, to listen. I've been down in these communities. We have been listening. This is not my plan. This is your plan, and I think that's the spirit. Oh, yeah.
So they open new schools soon. Maybe you can go and visit them. They will be happy to see you. They lost a lot of jobs. They need more jobs. That's what they are saying. And my question is, a lot of people from Russia, from Ukraine are still coming and crossing the border every day. Thousands of them. They want to work. They want to get a job. They don't know what to do. And not only people from Europe, also locals in Kern County. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. Sometimes they don't have resources to get a job. Do you think like we have any plan to promote the jobs, get people involved in that? Thank you.
Well, California has actually been a leader in the nation as it relates to reaching out to Ukrainians that have been ravaged by this war. We actually have centers and facilities that are explicitly focused on that diaspora that has occurred since the war to help reach out to those families, help acclimate folks, particularly those here that have come legally through a federal process that needs support at the state level and the local level. So I'd encourage, you got the expert, by the way, standing about 3 feet from you, that does that workforce and does that support work and funds it throughout the state, specific to Ukrainians. As it relates to Ridgecrest, I had the privilege of going down there. I remember it because it was like yesterday. I was down in a C-130, and I remember it was a bumpy ride when we landed into Ridgecrest right after that earthquake. And it was much more impacted than I think the general media expected. So I appreciate you highlighting that, and I'm very mindful, particularly post-earthquakes, the importance to be accountable with the FEMA money that came and to make sure those resources, a lot of federal resources in there with the airport, the base there, but to make sure we're doing more and better. And again, that's reflected in these larger economic and workforce development strategies. But thanks for reminding me about the folks in Ridgecrest as well. Last question.
Incoming administration increasing domestic oil production. Do you have any intention of allowing additional oil production on California lands?
Well, I think it's an interesting and important point. We've never been more energy independent. I'm just going to back up to your question, but I'm going to answer it. This country's never been more energy independent under the Biden administration, period, full stop. We export more than we import, and it was a significant increase in that energy exports under the Biden administration, substantially greater than under the Trump administration. So in terms of that frame, I think that's an important level set. As it relates to existing well operations, as it relates to those that are permitted under the existing rules and regulations, I'm very mindful of those challenges, and that's why I met with the head of CRC just 48 hours or so ago, 72 hours, we met on Friday, talking about some of those existing well operations and some of the smaller well operations. So we're working through some of those concerns. The voters had strong opinions. As you know, this notion of this referendum was rejected. Ultimately, the oil companies decided not to move forward as it relates to health and safety setbacks. The legislature moved forward in that respect. Obviously, that's going to impact some producers. But look, those existing operations will continue. I'm not looking to support offshore oil drilling, but nor was Ron DeSantis. He opposed that. He opposed fracking, Ron DeSantis, Republican, in Trump's backyard in places like Florida. And you know our policies are well established and have been advanced in that space as well. Thank you guys all very, very much.